What is up, everybody? Welcome into Shout, a Buffalo football podcast. Ryan Talbot is in the house, literally my house, my little apartment, my dorm room here. It doesn't feel like training camp until we do one of these in here. And what's funny, I set all this up outside because I thought, oh, we'll do like a outside one. It will be really well lit. It'll be sunny out there. I was out there for 2 minutes waiting for you. I'm like, we're moving this back inside. It is hot out there today. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not too much. Yeah, when you told me we'll do it outside, I was like, okay. And I just the walk from the parking lot in, I'm like, this won't be too bad. But then you're like, do you know where my room is? I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm heading that way. So very, very warm afternoon here in St. John Fisher University.
We got a lot to get to today. All of my observations from training camp have been out for hours to our insiders, and now we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into what it all means right here on Shout, brought to you by Amtrak. Amtrak's Empire Service offers frequent departures daily from Niagara Falls, Buffalo, all the way to New York City. Stops include Rochester, Syracuse, Utica, Schenectady, Albany, Hudson, Poughkeepsie, Rhinecliff, and much more. What a great way to see the state. There is comfort, no middle seats, plenty of legroom, reclining seats, ease of travel, free Wi-Fi on board, no baggage fees either. Plus, there's lots of discount offers. Make sure you get to Amtrak.com today to set up your awesome vacation. And listen, later in this episode, we're going to have our Amtrak Hype Train Player of the Week. I got one for you today, Ryan. Somebody had a big performance. We'll get to that in a few minutes.
Really excited to hear all about it. Like I said, just yesterday, too, same as yesterday, these updates came flying in. Felt like I was right there on the sideline next to you, which I will be tomorrow and Sunday. But these first 2 days with all these insider texts, I felt like I was there.
716-528-6727. Send a text. Go to joinsubtext.com/shoutbuffalobills. Get yourself in right now. 2-week free trial. If you're a returner subscriber, maybe you had subscribed last year and you want to come back, especially for this training camp period, get locked in right now. $3.99 a month after the free trial, or $3.99 if you're coming back per month. Less than a cup of coffee. I just went to Tim Hortons this morning and it was a little bit pricey. No offense, Tim Hortons. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. It was a little bit pricey. Becoming an insider, you'll get camp coverage and all of our thoughts on all things Buffalo Bills. All right. So we could start with our Amtrak Hype Train Player of the week and of the day for sure, but I want to go a different direction. And one of the things that we talked about on the show yesterday and going into, oh boy, AJ Sobalski is bringing up Mike White. Oh boy. AJ Sobalski has been, speaking of hype trains, I don't think there's been somebody that's had a hype train going longer or harder than AJ for Mike White, and he's having himself a heck of a camp, and he had himself a nice day today. We'll get to that in a little while, but I want to talk about a specific rookie and maybe somebody, we got to be careful here. The pads aren't on yet, but maybe somebody that's changing the math in terms of what this defensive line is going to look like out of the gate, because to me, we're day two. Deion Walker, we had a lot of question marks about the health. We had question marks about where he's at, what kind of reps he got in the spring. It took him a little while before he was on the field regularly. Ryan, he got first team snaps today. And listen, a lot of guys are getting cycled around and getting thrown in. Their pads aren't on yet. You don't want to overreact. But when you can just feel a player's presence, and I texted it in the group, massive body, like you notice him when he's out there. He's literally bouncing off of blocks because guys are struggling to deal with them. And against first team offensive line on the interior, when you got Osiris Torrance, McGovern, and David Edwards out there, that's a really tough task for a rookie. And it was nothing for Walker. He had a nice stuff on a James Cook run early in 11-on-11 drills. He comes back the next play. They try to run a quick short pass to Curtis Samuel. Walker gets from the middle and the interior of the line all the way down to where Samuel was making the catch and was able to stuff that play as well. I mean, it was a really solid performance of a guy that we got to start talking about, like, is he going to be like a real contributor in the rotation? I think he's going to be.
Yeah. So, you mentioned the rotating players with the first team. We see that a lot at training camp, but it's what you do with those reps. And pads aren't on yet, but Deion Walker is making an impact. And that's huge for him because when the pads do come on, he'll get cycled in again with the first team. And as long as he can make the most of it, then you have to start anticipating he's probably going to have a bigger role than you and I thought because of the lingering back injury, and they're going to bring him along slowly. All these things that we heard, which I'm sure that was the plan, but now we know that he's ramped up. He's a full go. He's clear. And we remember what Brandon Beane said about him in terms of his tape from 2023. This looked like a first-round player. The way that he played, back injury, pushed him back a little bit in 2024. If he's healthy and he can get coached up, you might see some more flashes of that player that they thought was a first-round talent, and then this could end up looking like a huge steal for the Bills.
I've been pounding this drum for years, right? Like, go young, go aggressive in the draft by adding a bunch of different flavors of players. And to me, what we're seeing, Landon Jackson made a play today. I want to mention that as well in a minute. But what we're seeing from these three players, TJ Sanders, Deion Walker, and Landon Jackson, are an infusion of youth, different skill sets, and the potential to really have the ability to not only flourish early, but develop early with roles that are like, you know, they're going to get to play. They're going to have meaningful snaps against really, you know, right out of the gate. You get the Baltimore Ravens, you go up against Lamar Jackson. You can really set the tone for the season if you have some of these young players come out, make a statement. I'm getting more excited by the day about what Deion Walker could mean for this team. And, you know, you think about Spencer Brown and what he's meant to this offense, a day 2 find. I know that it was a day 3 find technically with Deion Walker, but, you know, obviously a very big human who's having his own set of back problems. Spencer Brown's out with a back issue right now of his own. But this, you know, you don't want to get too hyperbolic, but you start to see the vision a little bit, what Brandon Beane was kind of shooting for with this defense. I talked to him about that yesterday. You know, the vision going into this season or going into this offseason about rebuilding this defense. And so far, thought Maxwell Harrison was competitive today. Some moments he probably wants back, some moments where I thought he really played well. No big flashy plays to specifically talk about. But in Walker, of this group of defensive players, I think like he's been on the outside looking in terms of headline space and expectations. Sure. And now we got to kind of recalibrate.
Yeah, and it's not just Lamar Jackson week 1, it's Derrick Henry. And if you have that big space eater in the middle that you can rotate in for a decent amount of snaps, that's going to be huge for this team, because we all know how the regular season game went last year against Baltimore, and the fact that Henry was able to run wild on them. Come playoff time, the Bills, I don't want to say they were selling out to the run, but they were certainly playing the run quite a bit more than daring Lamar to beat him with his arm, which Lamar Jackson was fantastic, minus the fumble and interception, brought him all the way back. But, if you have a space eater like that can go in there and make plays, you don't have to sell out. You don't have to try to play a certain way. You might just be able to play your base defense and get him those reps on rundowns. Let him try to challenge Henry in that regard. And that's a huge task to take on. So I don't want to sit here and say he's going to be able to take something like that on come week 1, but it's been very impressive for the rookies so far.
I'm uploading a video here real quick. What's something that you maybe saw splashed around, whether it be on the insider text line? And by the way, we'll get to him in a second. I don't know if anybody heard that. That was really just not suave on my part.
I think you whispered into the mic.
Yeah, don't talk about Keon Coleman yet, Ryan. Okay, thanks. Anyway, anything else that you want to kind of talk about while I get that? Because I want to load this clip just to get a look at Deion Walker from there.
Absolutely. Well, I'll stay in the wide receiver room, though, a little bit. I'll talk about Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel is another guy that I don't want to say he's the forgotten man in the wide receiver room, but we know what Khalil Shakir is going to bring to the table. We know that they have very high expectations for Joshua Palmer, Keon Coleman entering year 2. We've talked a lot about Elijah Moore and the impact that he's made since coming along here. Post-draft, having a really nice spring, making some splash plays already in training camp. But Curtis Samuel had a day today, and in showing what he can do in that intermediate range of the field, why the Bills were so interested in him last year, giving him a nice contract at that point. We know he had the turf toe early in the season. Kind of derailed the majority of his first year in Buffalo until we saw flashes of it late in the regular season.
I gotta take this away from you. Dude, he's holding it all the way up to his mouth. I mean, you got to be blowing people's ears off.
You always tell me eat.
That's only at Wingnuts, Ryan. Not with this mic. We got to know the differences.
All right, I'll hold it. Oh, you got it. Okay. But you know what Curtis Samuel can do in terms of the speed, the separation, the route running, and now that he's been healthy, we saw some flashes of that today.
We really did. And what I liked about Curtis Samuel is, first of all, we're only through 2 days and the pads haven't gone on yet, so you don't want to overreact. But like, the more we see of him, the more I think that familiarity with Josh Allen, with Joe Brady, I think can blossom in this offense. And I think if you go back to all of Brandon Beane's commentary on the wide receiver room over the offseason, Samuel definitely figures into that. Like, he doesn't always mention him, but I almost feel like he's a sense of security for that room. Like, you go out there, you bring in Moore, you bring in Palmer, obviously specific roles that you have in mind specifically for Palmer. But in Samuel, I think that it's still such a blank canvas of what it could be in this offense if he could stay on the field. And that's the only thing holding him back. He had a couple of plays today. I felt like he got Josh Allen out of trouble early in practice. Like, Josh Allen was a little bit off yesterday. I thought that he would, and that'll happen in red zone because you're trying to limit mistakes. You're firing the ball around. And then today, I felt like Josh came out again a little bit off. And then before long, he settles in and has himself, the offense was dominant today. And I think a big reason for that can be it's like a reciprocal thing. Josh Allen gets a lot of players out of trouble a lot of times, but Curtis Samuel on a rifle over the middle that was high, that was probably an uncatchable ball, he goes up, makes the catch, makes the adjustment. That's a big time play for Curtis Samuel. And I think the expectation in the room is he makes those plays. He's a vet. He doesn't have to, like Elijah Moore and Josh Palmer, spend any time getting to know the playbook. He already knows it.
Yeah, those are big advantages for him. And, you mentioned Josh Allen's the MVP for a reason, but players do. It's a relationship where players sometimes bail you out as well. We saw it with Khalil Shakir. He catches anything, high, low, you name it. And Curtis Samuel can do that as well. I mean, this is a respected veteran in this league where when healthy, he put up some really good numbers in Washington. Obviously, the familiarity with Joe Brady from their Carolina time. I'm excited to see what a healthy Curtis Samuel can do because we know full well with this everyone eats mentality. It doesn't matter if you're wide receiver 1, 4, 5, you name it. You're going to be featured on a week-by-week basis and have a role.
Thank you so much for watching here on this Thursday, July 24th. The Bills wrapped up their training camp practice a couple hours ago. Been covering it all day long. You can get the coverage if you become an insider. 716-528-6727. Another shout out for that. I'm going to play this clip. I want to get to Keon Coleman here in a moment. Before we do here's a clip real quick that I took. Ryan Nielsen, Bills senior defensive assistant, working again very closely with the defensive line. Here's a clip of some of the rookies and some of the defensive linemen. All right, so a lot of bulk there, right? Like a lot of guys that are moving pretty quickly. I think you like a lot of the depth. You really see it showcased there in just that very simple clip. They go 11 deep on this defensive line. Larry Ogunjobi made a big play today. I do want to it was against Mike Edwards, so we don't want to go too nuts. I mean, Mike Edwards, right. I don't want to talk too much about him because we were kind of rough on him last training camp. He's a big dude. And I think the thing with Mike Edwards, just watching him out there, when you're that size in the offensive line, it's really easy to get yourself into some trouble quickly if you're going up against a guy that's got quick feet or anything like that. And I think Larry Ogunjobi on just one snap really got the better of him. But Joey Bosa, you can kind of see the plan for them today, or of training camp today. He had a big practice yesterday, went through all the team drills. They held him out of almost all of team drills today. I don't think I saw him a single time. And I think that's a smart play. Take it day by day. Don't overwhelm him. You want him ready to go when the games start. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him at all in the preseason.
No, and that's the right plan. I know he's new to Buffalo's defense and system, but this is a veteran who has played multiple years at a high level when healthy. So that's got to be Buffalo's plan, keeping Bosa healthy, because they know they need that finisher on their defensive line coming off the edge. And as long as they can preserve that, not just throughout the summer, but throughout a long regular season and playoff time, it can pay dividends for this team. So having him, you don't need him to run through these drills. He knows what he is doing. He's very smart. He has a great pass rush arsenal. It's about keeping him fresh for week one for the Baltimore Ravens, but then also middle of the year, late in the year as it goes on, because that's what they've been missing. Someone that you can count on to be a double-digit sack contributor. And I think Greg Rousseau can do that. I think they have enough other players that can contribute and maybe get in that 5 to 7 sack range, but they need a closer, and that's exactly what I feel like Bosa can be.
Interesting exchange today. So I didn't see the actual back and forth, but AJ Epinesa and Jackson Hawes had a little bit of an altercation. I don't know, maybe the rookie getting a little bit too overzealous in one of his blocks or exchanges with AJ Epinesa. A couple minutes later, Epinesa goes to the medical tent, and he did not return for the rest of practice. So we don't have an injury update on him, where he's at and what he's dealing with. But with him out, an opportunity presented itself on the defensive line. And again, Ryan, like, the pads aren't on yet. Like, again, I'm going to give this caveat over and over again. But Paris Shand, I mean, this is a dude, undrafted free agent out of LSU that is showcasing some big-time speed. Had a would-be sack against first team. I believe it was against Deion Dawkins. Comes in the next play later, affects the quarterback once again. Yeah. He's finding a way to get in the backfield, and I think that's a huge development. Another one on the defensive line, while we're here, Michael Hoyt looked unblockable at times today, like really, really good as they were cycling through some different options on the outside. Richard Garage had a rough day, a couple of tough snaps for him as well. But I thought, like, across the board, even though this was like a offense wins kind of day, there was a lot of really good performances on the defensive line.
Absolutely. And is it safe to say you'd give Paris a Shand through 2 days of practice? He can't kick me out because we're together. I had to do my little dad joke there. I apologize. Paris Shand, though, coming out of nowhere, Matt.
Listen,
I need that microphone.
Listen, I'm so embarrassed right now, everybody. I'm sorry that you have to put up with that. I have to put him in timeout for a second, and he's over there, and he's not on camera, and he's going to deal with that. How do you feel about all of this right now?
I'm still really happy with how it all played out. I'm not going to lie. So this is a huge opportunity for UDFA, and the pads are not on yet. We have to wait for that, and he's going to have to continue it. But I guarantee you, through 2 days, the Bills are saying we might have something here, whether that means a player that you are going to stash on your practice squad for a year, develop, and hope that he's ready to go and be a contributor in some way, shape, or form come next season, whatever the case may be. But he's making a big impression. It kind of reminds me, obviously different position altogether, but Joe Andreessen. Joe Andreessen went from rookie minicamp invite to getting a contract last year from the Bills, being a part of the 90-man roster, to by the end of training camp being part of the 53-man roster. Now, I can't necessarily say that Shan's going to be able to do that based on the talent and depth that the Bills have on their defensive line and in their edge room. But if an injury were to pop up, we talked just a minute ago about AJ Epinesa having to go to the locker room. If that's something more serious, that's one more roster spot for the Bills to have to address, and maybe Shan can get it. But worst case scenario, he's definitely on the radar to be on the practice squad.
You've really developed the ability to eat the mic. I'm proud of you. I mean, you really have it. That wasn't that far down. Like I have it right here for you.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's all right. It's just everybody's ears at home. No big deal. All right. So, and I keep looking, by the way, down at our screen because we got the kind of dual thing going on here. Apologies. Anyway, somebody's asking about Landon Jackson in the comments. I thought, like, this was a day, even going back to the spring, like there weren't a lot of days where, like, outside of just not seeing him in his size and it's obvious, it hasn't popped a ton. And I don't know, as a pass rusher, if I would have said today he did anything that really stood out, but he had one really good run stop, getting down the line, really kind of getting himself, from a physical perspective into the mix. I think it was on a Ray Davis run. I can't remember it completely, but it was, at least a play where you're like, okay, I like what you're seeing him, getting him involved, showing a little bit of physicality, even without the pads on. That says a lot. I mean, the guys that are willing against, especially in those offensive, defensive line interactions, for guys to step up and have some physicality, I thought that was a nice box check for Landon Jackson.
And obviously a day 2 pick for the Bills, a player that they really like a lot, Matt. But you go back and you look at just his progression as a player during his time at Arkansas. There's a drill of him the first time he's hitting the bags, and it looks awful. To the Senior Bowl and how fluid and how natural it looks at that point. So he's already come a long way in his development just at the college level. And at the end of that, the Bills said, man, this is a player that can be a pass rush artist, someone that can get after the quarterback, someone that's good against the run. They talked to him almost every day during the pre-draft process, according to Jackson, during that process, saying he talked to the Bills almost every day as well as the Commanders. So the interest was there. And now it's about, paying off and making plays, whether even if it's just one splash play, every practice, that helps build up the confidence and get him going.
Still struggling since the Shand joke. I mean, it hit me hard. But you know what? You're one of my best buds, right? We're podcast tag team partners. Right. And sometimes I feel like I got to be your hype man. Even if I don't agree with the strategy, I got to pump you up. And speaking of hype, Amtrak Hype Train Player of the Week. I'm going to give it to Keon Coleman, man. I'm going to give it to Keon Coleman because we were hard on him yesterday, right? Like 5 targets, 5 drops. There was a message sent today. The first play of the game or of the practice, Josh Allen to Keon Coleman. It was an absolute message because he had a tough day yesterday. Like, it's easy when things don't go your way to hang your head, right? And he comes out on the first play and you could feel it. It was all business, right? The offense kind of sputtered for the first few minutes, some defensive plays. We'll get into a couple a little bit later on. But Coleman throughout practice, he was a constant presence. And I mentioned Curtis Samuel. It was also Coleman who really kept the offense on the tracks, if you will. Yes. Shout out, yes. Amtrak. Head over to Amtrak.com. Book your next trip right now. But the Hype Train Amtrak Player of the Week goes to Keon Coleman. And I'm going to tell you the play of the day. And it came from Keon Coleman. Play action pass from Josh Allen. Goes back to pass. Keon Coleman gets kind of shuffles through defenders. Lands on Cole Bishop, who tries to cover Keon Coleman one-on-one. Didn't go well for the second-year safety. Keon Coleman put a nice move on him at the second level. Allen puts a dart out there. He makes the catch. Would have been a monster game. Maybe like a 40, 50-yard connection. Maybe goes for a touchdown. That's the kind of play where it's like, okay, you see the vision now for Keon Coleman, what he could be for this team. Josh Palmer, still kind of working out the kinks with Josh Allen, but to have a day like this for Keon Coleman, I felt like it was a big deal.
A huge day after not being able to record a catch a day ago, having some frustrating plays and plays he'd like to have back, to come in and make 4 receptions on 4 targets, I believe, have a really nice bounce back day. That's huge for him because, as you said, we were hard on him yesterday. We mentioned the struggles and the separation, the route running, and maybe that's just a part of the game, or of his game, but he showed today with the bounce back. He can get open in that intermediate part of the field. He can be used in certain ways where maybe we need to temper the expectations. Maybe he's never a wide receiver 2, but he can still be a very valuable wide receiver 3 or 4 in this offense. As I was going back talking about Curtis Samuel before, there's going to be weeks where his number gets called a lot and he's going to have to go out and make plays like that. And there's going to be other weeks where they're running the ball, they're targeting Kincaid or Palmer. That's the beauty of this. The Bills don't need to force feed one specific or 2 specific players. When his number is called, though, he's going to have to be ready to step up. And we saw, based on performance from day 1 to day 2, really nice job today by Keon Coleman.
There was another rep for Keon Coleman against Tre'Davious White where just stuck his foot in the ground, really put him in a blender, dropped him. And actually there was one point in practice day where Trey White had to get attended to. It looked like maybe a cramping situation, but he didn't miss a single play. So it's not something that I put out there. I texted along on the insider text line. All right. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. We really appreciate you joining us, coming into the dorm room at St. John Fisher University, one of our favorite times of the year. I mean, we're about to get probably all dialed up and head out to the Bar Bill tonight to support the boys, and probably a little stop at the Pittsford Dairy is probably in our future. What do you think?
I can't wait. I'm pumped for this night. Looking forward to supporting Sal and Matt at Bar Bill, and you and I, we love those milkshakes at the dairy farm.
All right, I put it off as long as I can put it off. If AJ's still watching, we got to get to this QB2 battle. Comes out the first reps for the second team, and it was Mike White taking them. I think that there's, like I said, going into camp, it feels like there's been a little bit of a changing of the guard there, and it feels like Mike White seems to be in the driver's position. And, man, did he have a really nice practice today. I mean, a couple of plays, one specifically to Elijah Moore, an 18-yard dot that I thought was like, I had to do a double take. I'm not saying it was a Josh Allen-esque pass, but it was the kind of high quality pass that you're not used to seeing when Josh Allen isn't under center. So I think that was number one notable. Elijah Moore, I think, continues to have a little bit of a steady production wise training camp. It's a spillover from the spring. He's been really good since he put on a Bills uniform, and that continues. The next play, Mike White comes back again, same kind of thing, intermediate area of the field, finds KJ Hamler, who is just impossible to deal with at the line of scrimmage. I mean, if they find a way to get this guy in the field, I'm telling you, I want to see what it looks like. I just want to see what it looks like in a game, not a preseason game, an actual game, because in terms of, listen, this is crazy. You're going to probably say, Matt, get a grip here. He reminds me of Cole Beasley in his ability to really frustrate defenders in press man at the line of scrimmage. What happens after that? He's not the nuanced route runner that Cole Beasley was. I mean, he was a zone beating wizard when it came to how he attacked defenses. But I do think that there is a suddenness to his ability. Next time I get a chance to talk to Joe Brady, we had him today. I didn't think I get a question in. This didn't kind of pop into my head, but I do really want to talk to him about what it's going to take to get KJ Hamler, just an opportunity to see what it looks. Oh my God, I just spit all over you. Did you see that?
It's all right. No worries.
No, I just literally spit all over you.
It's good. It's fine.
Dude, you really are our best bud.
No, Mike White, real quick, Matt. We've talked a little bit about him and the fact that he is the antithesis, I can't even speak right now, of Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky protects the football. And I think you actually had that in the text line today where you were talking about Mike White with these dots, these throws, the intermediate passes, being on fire today. And then it was like kind of the dink and dunk for Mitch Trubisky. And it's the different flavors. Maybe that's what the Bills want in their backup, someone that's going to protect the football and maybe be able to sustain drives. But if the Bills are looking for more upside, I feel like Mike White brings that based on the ability to stretch the field, play with a little bit more of a gunslinger mentality, which has its faults to it as well, especially when you're, a career journeyman, a backup, someone that for every game where you go wild throwing the ball and having multiple touchdowns, the next week it's, 3 or 4 interceptions. I think against the Bills, one game he had 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Those are the highs and lows. So, regardless of who ends up winning this, the Bills have to hope that neither see the field in a meaningful game. But the Bills might have to also think about what is the better option here based on what we might need in case something happens in a 1-2 game stretch.
Do you think AJ Sobalski has a Dolphins or Jets Mike White poster up in his either his room he's not in a dorm, so I can't say a dorm room, but what do you think?
Jets.
More of a Jets?
I feel like that's when he really went wild in his career. I bet there were posters made and kind of like Linsanity with the Knicks. It seems like that market would really take off with Mike White mania.
Okay. There you go, AJ. I've never seen somebody stand a backup quarterback like AJ has stand Mike White over the years. Shout out to you, but he's had a great training camp. And listen, I think the upside with Mike Sanity, he said, I think the upside with Mike White is a higher level of execution and potential plays that are out there to be made as opposed to Trubisky, who, to your point, he's going to play it safe. It's just, that is like how he's programmed.
Right.
Sometimes you can't program guys any differently. That's just how they operate. It's been that way since Chicago. It was the frustration there with him after they drafted him 2nd overall. You're not going to be able to coach that out of him. He's deathly afraid of making mistakes. And while Mike White might make too many of them, and, Josh Allen has really honed in that part of his game over the years, I think you're more willing to roll the dice with something like that than you are with a Mitch Trubisky that I just don't know if he's going to make enough plays to score the kind of points you need to consistently win.
Right. Absolutely. And with the Bills, if it is Mike White's job at number 2 quarterback and he has to play in a game, you probably feel pretty good about giving James Cook and the running backs a heavy share of the offensive load running the ball, knowing the defense can keep you in the games. It wouldn't have to necessarily be a shootout performance where Mike White has to throw the ball 30, 40 times. So that probably plays into it as well, where when he was on those Jets teams, you're throwing the ball early and often.
I got to say, and shout out to Brian Auman, one of our OG throwback listeners of the show. Mike White is QB2. We can pay him less than Trubisky, and the talent gap is negligible with the super chat there. So we appreciate Brian echoing our sentiments. Okay, so The other thing that I want to get to here is like we talk so much about like the guys that have the arrow up right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we started off the show with a rookie that's really playing well. I think we got to spend a minute talking about, you know, a rookie that is struggling a little bit at the start of camp. That's Jordan Hancock, the Bills. Was it 4th round pick, 5th round pick?
He was a day 3 guy. I want to say 5th, unless they had the 2 4s because Dion was taken with 1. Let's say 5th for now.
Right. It appears that he's playing primarily in the slot, based on, you know, I'll confirm that for you tomorrow. I'll look at it a little bit closer. Most of the time I'm noticing him is when, you know, he's involved in plays. And, you know, there were a couple of receptions today where he just is struggling at the 2nd and 3rd stage of the play to stay with his man. And I think that, you know, you want to see, you know, Maxwell Hairston, for instance, today gave up a reception at one point during camp, and I turned and looked at Andy Young from Spectrum, and I said, listen, that's a reception given up, but it's really good coverage. Like, he was in a good position. The receiver just didn't leave him any angles to make a play. I just don't think Jordan Hancock is comfortable enough yet. His reaction time, and that's something that you're going to deal with, and it's something that over the course of training camp, and the pads probably expected to come on sometime Sunday or Monday, you really want to see him start to make some progress in that area, because you don't want these same little issues staying issues throughout, you know, multiple practices of camp.
Yeah, 100%. You need to see some growth from him, but rookie struggles, especially day 3 players, where you love the intangibles, the athleticism, you probably know that they're there in the 5th round for a reason, and it has to do with maybe just kind of working on specific parts of the actual game itself, because we've seen players come in here before where they test off the charts, they have the athleticism, they can be a Swiss Army knife type of player for the defense, but then maybe they just never reach that peak. I feel like Hancock has the ability to play multiple roles in this defense given time and development, whether that is backing up at the nickel cornerback position. I think he has safety versatility and could even potentially play on the boundary. It's up to the Bills to find out what his best spot is. And right now, trying to find that maybe an heir apparent to Taron Johnson, or just testing to see what you have there. There's going to be those growth moments in the pains, and you hope that he can, you know, I don't want to say bounce back, but he can improve daily and kind of start getting some wins in those areas and learning from his mistakes, because we know it's not just the practice field. They go back, they watch the film. It's going to be up to him to kind of look and see what he did wrong on a specific play and learn from it.
So for Hancock, it was a couple of plays in the short game, and it was Mitch Trubisky and a quarterback, not shockingly. But just struggling. And the one play specifically that I want to bring up, you have Kaleki Latu, which is like the 4th tight end on the depth chart, maybe 5th, depending on how you want to slot these guys. He flashed him with athleticism. This is the second time I've noticed him for an athletic play. Like, he caught a short pass, and Hancock was in coverage, and he just kind of stuck his foot in the ground, made a quick move upfield, and Hancock was on the floor. I mean, he couldn't stay on his feet. That's the kind of play where you got to stay in the play. Right? Like, at the very least, you want to coach these guys up to make sure that they're staying in the play, give you a chance that even if you don't make the tackle, maybe at least get a hand on him. Like, he was just completely out of the play, and before you knew it, Latu was upfield. So those are the kind of little things that I wouldn't be surprised. We're talking about Hancock right now as like maybe like a trending down right now early in camp, as a guy that like we're talking about with a trending up. If he like finds a way to bounce back from this, you know, there's going to be coaching points. They're in meetings every single night. They're doing walkthroughs to see the light go on for him. I think we might be talking about that in a future episode.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with this defense, the scheme, the expectations, what you expect out of him. And he's going to have to learn from those mistakes in terms of keeping his footing, but also being in the right spot in those short passes, the short passing game. But it comes with time.
If I was home, I would actually bring the camera up to my wife, Caitlin, and I would show her for a second, then I would take her off the screen and put her in timeout as she's laughing at your Paris Shan joke, which is it's rough. It's rough, but it's okay. Listen, I've decided that hey, buddy. Oh, well, fancy seeing you here. You gonna pop your head in and say hi?
Hello.
All right, good to see you, Tim Graham, The Athletic. You writing a story?
Am I writing a story right now?
Yeah.
No, I'm transcribing a bunch of interviews.
All right.
And I'm just taking a lap around to stretch the legs.
That a boy. Well, I'll see you in a couple hours.
I'm an old.
He said he's just an old. But speaking of which, I've decided I do have to be a little bit more supportive in the dad jokes. I mean, that is a big part of your personality.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure that was kind of my Christmas gift to you, right?
It was. I have a little calendar. If you watch the pod when I'm at home, it should be right there in the background next to the Loki figure and near my Funko Pop. So it's there front and center. I'm looking at him every day.
All right, so let's get into the running backs here real quickly. Have a quick segment on that. James Cook stepped to the podium today, and listen, this is why you got to be plugged into the local folks. I mean, we've been talking about this for months. I never expected him to hold in. I thought he was going to show up once he said he was going to be at training camp, participate fully. And he said, listen, and he did make the point too. He doesn't want to sacrifice any money with any fines, but it's about coming and battling for a Super Bowl and going out and proving it again and earning whatever contract from whatever team hands it out in a couple of months here, like after the season. And he ran hard today. I mean, he was impressive. The run of the day, though, Ty Johnson on a scamper to the right side, like really tough to deal with. I thought Taylor Rapp initially took a really good angle on it as to the right-hand side. Ty Johnson kind of got into the open field, but Johnson blew right by him. And I mean, if this guy stays healthy, like if you remember last training camp, he dealt with a couple nagging little issues. If he stays healthy, that 1-2-3 punch, Joe Brady talked about in his availability today. It's about as good as it gets in the NFL. And I don't think people talk enough about the depth in the Bills running back room.
No, I agree completely. I have to look around the league to look at the third string running backs because you look at some of the great combinations. Detroit has a really good 1-2 punch. But in terms of 1-2-3, the Bills could arguably have the best running back room in this league because of what we saw from James Cook and the 18 touchdowns in the regular season. Knowing what Ray Davis did when given the opportunities as a rookie, knowing he's going to be better in year two, and then Ty Johnson just being, an unbelievable find for this Bills team. Bringing him in 2 years ago after the end of the preseason, doing enough there to make it on the practice squad. And ever since he's been a part of this main roster, he hasn't looked back. He has been so good running the ball inside the tackles, outside the tackles, catching the ball, you name it. Does a little bit of everything and does it very, very well. So good to hear that he did well. And then for James Cook, once he showed up in the spring, I thought that really would have taken all of the interest or the intrigue out of will he come to training camp. He came to the mandatory mini camp. Why wouldn't he come to training camp? There's obviously as well the fact that one of the I want to say it was Joel Corey that said that he had to come based on being on a rookie contract, or else he would have lost that accrued season, wouldn't have been able to hit free agency. So there's a lot of factors to it, but doesn't want to lose his money, wants to be a leader, and wants to show what he can do, whether it means landing a long-term deal here in Buffalo or elsewhere.
We got almost 2,000 people watching across all platforms right now. We appreciate you making us a part of your Thursday, getting the full download on training camp practice today. And obviously, we already brought you the Amtrak Hype Train Player of the Week. Keon Coleman gets the nod. Now we got to talk to you about the National Comedy Center located in Jamestown, New York. They have been a proud sponsor of the Shout podcast for the last few months. And man, did we have a blast going up and checking out their interactive exhibits all throughout the Comedy Center. They have acts coming there all the time. It is, if you're a comedy fan, movies, TV shows, stand-up specials, I mean, it is an immersive experience at the Comedy Center like no other.
Unbelievable experience. I cannot rave enough about it. Plan on going again one more time this summer, later in August. But you mentioned it. The technology is unbelievable in terms of expectations. You don't know what to expect, and you come in there and just blows you away. Everything is based on your preferences and interests with comedy. And I think every user can appreciate that because not every comedian or show is, in someone's wheelhouse. So the fact that they make this based on your interests, I can't say enough good things.
Renee says that she loves dad jokes and that Matt needs a sense of humor. I do want to let you know that it's a bit. Right. I think he is one of the funniest guys I know. This guy right here, Ryan Talbot. All right. August 7th, we're coming back to Dorado Wingnuts is going to do a pop-up event. They brought 2,000 wings last year. They're probably going to bring more this year. So come out. We'll do a camp wrap. We'll give you all of our thoughts on what this roster, the state of the roster, as we look ahead to the rest of the preseason and then project towards the 53-man roster cut down. Everything that we saw in Rochester, we will talk about it on that episode of the show. We'll hang out. We'll have amazing drinks. We'll eat tacos. We'll have chicken wings. It's going to be an amazing event. August 7th, 5:30 p.m. at Dorado. Wingnuts is coming out. We cannot wait. And thank you for watching today. Like and subscribe before you go. Ryan, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be right back.
Yeah, cannot wait. We'll be back shortly after practice is over tomorrow.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody.